Hello. So we are going to talk today about how to turn your voices in your head into your career. Say what? What? Super excited about it. I think it's going to be very, very cool. We have a handout. We have things to talk about. I'm going to go through an acronym to make it really like boom, 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 boom. We're going to talk about voices in your head, and we are going to get them out of your head onto the page, into your life in a spectacular way. So I'm just going to dive in and go for it. So today, I got this. We have a handout. You can get it here. You can also always get our handouts whenever we have a ton of free content at hollywoodgatekeepers.net/free look. And that has pretty much gets you to anything that we have. Is we've decided to put it all on one page so that you can see all about us there. So I'm Carolyn J. Carpenter, and I'm talking about the voices in your head. Because I can hear them. I can't. Where are my tacos? They're coming. They're on the way. They're coming with your chicken tenders. So we're going to talk about voices in your head because, hey there, folks. Hey, hi, Cindy. What's up? And there it is again. Yay, free look. You can get that there. Sorry, having a moment. So yeah, let's talk about the voices in your head, shall we? Because this is one of my favorite. I think it probably is my favorite topic, are the voices in our head and how we deal with them, because it's something that I don't think we deal with enough. And I think that there's, we talk about mental health, but I think sometimes we actually, things that are very normal and everybody does, we either we've either pushed that so far away that it doesn't hold a space anymore, that we get threatened when someone else demonstrates something that we're not familiar with. And so we determine them wrong, crazy, bad, evil, wrong, whatever. So I think, hold on, let me just concentrate, quit that dinging. Okay. It's like, no. Sorry. Okay. Pardon me. So I want us to get in touch with it. And as writers, especially, you have a secret weapon in terms of you are in touch with the voices in your head in a much more visceral, honest, well, maybe not honest, but depends on how you look at it, but a total visceral, like you are in touch, like at least you're aware that there are voices in your head, because most people don't think of their thoughts in that way. They think voices in your head, and sometimes it is this, it can be, if we have a psychotic break or something, it changes. However, I do think that there's less of a hardcore line to that than most people think. And that's just my opinion, not a doctor, not even a psychologist, just in terms of my own voices. And also, though, I have a lot of very creative people in my family. I also have a lot of mental illness in my family. And so I've seen, I have a cousin that was institutionalized. I've seen this kind of thing in my family. And so I think I have a little bit of an attachment to it in a different way. And I think creativity, there's such a fine line between, we kind of joke between creative and crazy, but when you look at artists that walk that line of people, they were so tortured and then their art is so good. Like sometimes we idolize that in kind of a weird way, but it's like, it goes together. And I think we tend to like compartmentalize instead of embracing and loving those voices and allowing those voices, and not only allowing them, but like, hello, they're a resource, like being able to use them in a way that's just, we don't even have to have experienced something firsthand to be able to write about it and to be able to take some emotion that we had for some other reason and apply it to that. It's like, that's the human condition. And so we have this really like, I want to say responsibility as writers, but we have this gift. It's such a gift we've been given as writers to be able to tap into that. And so I've been studying this a lot in terms of kind of how most people go through life, how writers go through life, how artists go through life, kind of looking at that whole bigger picture and really seeing that as someone who works in the arts as an artist, or someone who not necessarily even just artists, but someone who knows what they want to do, someone who's passionate, has a purpose. Someone who has a purpose is so far, I want to say, I hate using the terms like ahead of, because it's not a race, it's not a competition, but being able to know what you want, being able to have a purpose, and in my opinion, especially if it's in the arts, but in general, if you know you want to be a teacher, or you always have had a passion to, be someone who works with animals or whatever it might be, if you have a passion and a drive to something, already your life is so much easier than a lot of people, because most people actually have no idea. They don't know what they want to do or be. And I remember, and we just were on Instagram, and I talked about this a little bit, but being in high school, as being my junior year, and people were starting to apply to college and stuff. And I remember a lot of my friends being like, I don't know, how am I supposed to know what I want to do? Maybe I'll go do this, or maybe I'll go do that. And when we interview people, we talked to Paul Haggis, who's, he's got 2 back-to-back Oscars for writing, and he was like working in construction, and his dad was like, you need to go be a writer. Like, luckily he had a great parent, but still he came into construction until he could write. But it's like, we flounder around sometimes when you're younger, which I also think that if you don't know, just try a bunch of stuff. And even if you do, still try a bunch of mediums. It doesn't matter if you want to be an artist. I think you should try all mediums just for kicks, just to kind of get an experience of it all. The more that you try to, show up, do things, the more experience you'll get and the better it will be. So it's really, we're so fortunate. Look at, you guys are making such great comments about, and Edgar Allan Poe, for no mental issues there with Edgar Allan Poe. I was actually going to use him as an example, but what a genius, right? So it is really interesting. Yeah, and it's so good to have direction. Like, it's such a, I remember just being so relieved, even though I was picking the arts, like one of, they say is the hardest career you could choose. I don't know about that. It's hard in what way? It's like, I don't know, brain surgery to me. It's like, don't want to make an error there. But and that's the one reason I love the arts. And, we spend a lot of our time in the arts kind of screwing around. It's awesome. Because you need to get in touch with your sense of play. And so it's really important. And, and that's been part of I have a lot of musicians in my life, and they spend a lot of time messing around. However, they also spend a lot of time working hard on their craft and writing every day. And it's still a balance, right? But I'm going to go ahead and share the handout, because I'll kind of walk you through this idea of, if you can be really in touch with these voices and really double down on them, wow, what a difference it might make. So, it was shaky. It was like shaking there for a second. Hold on. Go to the top. So, when you think about it, so look, because I love grade school, it's an acronym. So when you think about, your voices and your vision and where they stem from, you kind of think back to your childhood, and you think back on what were some of the voices that you had in your life on a daily basis. I had parents that were both artists. My mother played classical piano, but she taught 2nd grade and hated it. So she was like, gotta be practical, or have a job you hate. She hated it for 35 years. Hated it. Drug herself to it every day. Come home and play the piano. Drag herself. Come home and play the piano. So she was also painfully shy. Couldn't play the piano. If she knew you were listening, she'd stop. Like, really. But loved music. Went to the opera. That kind of thing. That was her passion. But her parents said, get a backup thing. And then my father, super creative, like off the charts creative. Everywhere. So creative that really hard to pin him down. He did maintain jobs, so I have to say. He was an artistic director, he was a high school drama teacher. Like, he did do a lot of things, but they balanced each other, where he was like, just pretend you got the job, because at least then you're happy till you don't. Like, really much like, and she'd be like, there's a lot of people that are better than you. So it was like this, balance. But those voices, I carry them with me still to this day. And that's kind of adult voices. You also have whatever you had as a child. So when you think about when you were a child and you're like, and you can't even speak yet, whatever's going on around you, that's, I love coming back to that image of like, just watching the things happening around you, because that's where things were being deeply implanted without you even, having a say or knowledge of it. And so you're listening to the voices that, or not necessarily even what they're saying to you, what people are saying to each other is far more what you're absorbing, what people are actually doing all through childhood. Do as I say, not as I do. Like, they just watch, children just watch their parents. We watched our parents. Even if they said things to us, we're still just watching how they behave. That's what we're absorbing. So if you had voices of anger and chaos and stuff going on in your childhood, those voices are deeply seated in you. If you had, lack and there wasn't enough to go around, and you have voices of concern and lack of money and poverty and how are we going to get through this? If you had voices of apathy and parents that were like, whatever, there's just no point. All of these, because people are people are people. Doesn't matter where you grow up. Sometimes people grow up in squalor and their parent is like, this is not your future. Some people grow up in squalor and their parent is like, this is how life is. It's like, and that's just their voices in their head. And I did a play, and he actually had a line, one of my favorite lines ever, is, you're not hearing me. You're hearing me through the voices filtered in your own head. So good, right? That's what they're doing. They're filtering someone else's head and then giving it to their kid. And so whatever that environment was, no matter how much therapy you have, no matter how, it's always going to be with you. So as a writer, what a gift. You've got this source of material. Just dig for it. It's all there. Let's just dig for it and be intentional about it. So then the voices become your vision. And the O is like your options and opinions and people telling you this is what life is and this is the truth and you need to do this and blah, blah, blah. And then you start growing up and you've got friends and teachers and mentors and television and social media and all this input, right? So then you have all these options, and it's up to you to choose the ones that resonate with you, because not everybody is the same and different voices resonate with different people, which is why we have this so much. It's like, no, my voice, no, my voice. And instead of it being like, oh, wow, I can choose that, I can choose this, what resonates with you, what is true to you, what feels good, from our perspective, what we are always trying to get people to do is really base the whole thing in love. Like that the bottom of it all is that love, acceptance, no judgment. Even as readers, we're coming to this script, this screenplay, this writer with love and being like, how can we make this beautiful? There is no work. It's all a work in progress. Even after the movie is made, it's a work in progress. It's like, that's all we do is look at works in progress and grow with them. So if we can come to ourselves in the same way we come in that screenplay with love and works in progress and not judgmental about what I should have, could have, should have been, should have done, should have done, they stopped me, this person got in my way, but whatever story we're telling ourselves about why we're not doing it, those are the voices. And if you can start to listen to that and start to see how much of the time do you have your fingers pointing out, one finger pointing this way and all the rest back at yourself, or are you going, well, if they hadn't and he hadn't, he haven't told me that, my parents didn't do that, if my dad wasn't this way, yeah, whatever, things might have been different or not, because it's all options and choices. So then you can take all of those options, choices, voices, everything into your imagination. And you don't have to be like, sorry, saw the comment about my dad on You Bet Your Life. I was like, what? Yes, it was on You Bet Your Life. So random. Yeah, super creative. He was a scientist too, and he had a thing called, his business is teaching business, science, fun, and fact, and it was called Up and Atom. That is my dad. Okay, anyway. But so if you can take all of that and put it into an imagination, which is instead of saying, but that's the way it is, that's the way it was. If you can take those voices like he did in science, and he created Up and Atom, and he's, Up and ATOM, Up and Atom, still makes me laugh. It's like, and this is in the 50s he did this. So it's like, to be able to take those voices, that creativity, that knowledge, whatever knowledge you have, we all have some kind of knowledge that the next guy doesn't have. It's like we all have this conglomeration of whatever, and being able to take all the versions of you, of the things that you've learned, whether it's, you played tennis for a while, or you were in the school play, or there's, we all have these random, I mean, you're seeing it here as people are going like, my I was Edgar Allan Poe as a family member. Like, we all have these kind of stories, and our families, absolutely, you should be talking to your parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins. Really interesting to sit down with your cousins and talk about your grandparents. Really interesting, because your view of your grandparent is based on the view of your parent. And so when my cousins and I get together, it is fascinating how different we view our grandparents based on what our parents told us, and how we view our aunts and uncles, because they're siblings. We don't think about them when you're kids, about them really being siblings, unless you're in the family where you see the dynamic, like big families that come together. But when you really start to think about that dynamic, and the dynamic of, oh, wait, well, my dad, talked about my grandfather as being a curmudgeon. And then the other cousin's like, what? Granddad's awesome. Like, whatever. It's really interesting, right? It really depends on the experience that your parent had as a child with that grandparent, which really fluctuates depending on how old they are, where they are on the line, how many kids they had. Like, the oldest kid's version of the parent is going to be way different than kid number 7, right? So it's like really interesting. So it's like that, this whole dynamic of voices, of parents, of generations, all of that to me is so fascinating. I just love it. And it is the well of stories right there. It's like right there in your life. Like, you don't have to go far. And you could write a story about a lion, and you could do a little lion story, and it could be The Lion King, and it could be talking about so much more than a little lion, right? You've never been a lion, and yet you can provide the voice of that lion, just like you've never been an ice skater, but you have gone through some sort of struggle. So then it becomes like you can give the voice to whoever you want, as long as you also include people that can make sure that you're accurate, that kind of thing. So it is really fascinating how we can take the wealth of what we learned and find what rings true to us and get it on the page in that way. And so then that becomes content. That becomes the content of your screenplay. Or maybe you don't want to write a screenplay. Maybe you just want to work in the arts in some other way. Maybe you want to do a course like what we do here in Hollywood Gatekeepers. Maybe you want to create, you want to be a coach and you want to help writers. Maybe you want to be a coach and you want to help producers. There's just so much opportunity. And there's never been more of a time where opportunity is accessible. And if you have the time to watch this right now, if you're watching me right now, you have the time to do whatever you want to do. You can take the same amount of time that you spend watching this and go create something that's spectacular. There's resources everywhere. People are blazing trails right and left. If you've been able to get here, you can get to there as well. You can find how to do things by Googling people. It's unbelievable the amount of resources that are at your fingertips. So start thinking about what are the voices. Start recognizing, is that even me saying I can't do that? I don't think it is. I think it's my frustrated algebra teacher, or whatever. Start to really identify your voice. What is your voice? Who do you want to be? Who are you as an artist? What story do you want to tell? They also talk about how most people say that it's 88% or something of people say they have a book in them. They have a story. How many people have you talked to? And if I had a nickel, a half a cent for every person that said, I have a screenplay you could write, and I'm always get in line, because so many people think, oh, write my screenplay, because it's the writing part is the hard part. The idea part, oh yeah, I've got Post-its and backs of envelopes and all kinds of stuff with ideas. It's the implementation that people don't do. It's there's so many times I have an idea and I'm like, oh, this is the one. And then the next day, no, it's this. And I've actually had people say, I have so many ideas that I can't do anything. And that can we have a whole episode that we did on that. But it is find the one that rings true to you and just do it. Just go for it. Create some content around it, whatever it might be, a blog, a song, a screenplay, a short story, a poem, whatever. I talked to, I'm in a mastermind with one of my friends, and she does high level coaching. She does coaching. This is so beautiful. She does coaching for people that are empaths, for people that are sensitive, that are trying to run a business, and they have a really hard time because they have a hard time saying no. They're just they have so much empathy for people that they have a hard time. And so she coaches these people. It's so great. She's helping people who are really sensitive create their businesses, right? She got a client by She was meditating. She came up with a poem. She posted on her Facebook page. Someone said, oh, I resonated with it. Do you do coaching? Now she's their coach. Like, things can happen if you just put yourself out there and get some content going. And that can create a career that you absolutely love because you're creating it from a place of your voice. So then you've got the final thing is like sharing, like what we're talking about here, like starting to smile, relax, have a sense of humor about it. Like, don't be so angsty about, oh, I'm so terrible. Like those kind of voices, what's wrong with me? Oh, I should, isn't it awful? Blah, blah, you know, those kind of voices, like they're always going to be there. Those voices are the adult version of. So can we take those voices and pick up the little child and be like, oh, you're okay. You're okay. I love you. I'm listening. I hear you. Don't squish them. We walk through life stamping on those voices. I'm not listening. La, 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 la. And we talked about that as a teenager. What do? They put headphones in because as a teenager, that's when they're starting to go like, oh, wait a minute. I have my own voice and it's not yours, damn it. So they like, we separate from the voices that we hear around us all the time. And we start to go, no, this is mine. And we take the, you know, get smart walls come up and we take the stance of I'm going to fight for my thing. And then as you grow, then pretty soon you go, oh, actually my parents did have a few good things to say typically. So it's like very typical story. So, you know, if we start to merge and melt and see what I resonate, what I want to be true, what I want to get behind and what I want to leave behind. And then not with no judgment, no shame, no blame, whatever. All of these experiences, we are going to carry them with us, even if we, you know, either try to move them away or we have a ton of therapy and we live in our drama. Like there's balances there. You carry all of that with you. You can talk through it, you can fix it, you can do all these things, but it's still there. It just can become a part of you so that it doesn't create so much anxiety. And you can take all of that and put it on the page in some way, put it into some kind of content, put it into videos, blogs, whatever. There's just so much out there that's so available to you. And the more you double down on your voice, the more you go, this is what I think. This is my authentic voice. People will resonate with that. That's the thing that people are looking for is authenticity. They want even more. And I really think this is going to continue in this way where people are getting far less impressed or wanting the big corporations, right? We're getting far more down to individuals. We are far more aware even of the people that run the big corporations than we ever used to be because of social media. We can like see them easier. And so we have this ability to tap into these big, grand things on a really personal level. It's really fascinating. And as scary as it can be, if you look at it through Social Dilemma, the movie that's come out that people are talking about, it's also can be really empowering if you use it to help people. And I really think that this is where we're going, where more and more people are going to start looking for the person that resonates with them, that can help them, that can get them like moving forward in their life. It's so cool and amazing. And it provides so many opportunities, especially for writers. You're already like so equipped, so much more to deal with life, so much more to deal with any kind of career that you want. You have this ability to tap into your voice that most people really like, most people are not even like aware of it. And if they are, they're not aware of it in a loving, open, embracing way. They're aware of it in like, I'm right, you know, it becomes really, even if it's positive, it can become just like, there's just not this sort of flow that can happen. And the more that we can sit in a space where we get the bad, you know, the good, the bad, the traumatic, awful, horrible, and the amazing, incredible, beautiful, like life is all of that. And the more we can kind of look at it all and regulate our nervous system and let it come in, let it wash over it, feel terrible, drop to your knees in sorrow, feel wonderful and dance on the clouds. Like feel those things, but don't let them control you. Feel those things and embrace them and know it's just all part of it. So then you can come up with whatever your thing is. It's different for everyone, but there's someone, if you're authentic, that will resonate with you and your thing that you are pushing forward. So that's what we want to talk about today. This is one of I think it is my favorite topic. It's talking about because we all have it and we all have the capacity to use it in a way that is spectacular. And so how can you use whatever voice you have, whatever, even if it's a voice that is not good, that you've never like identified as good, if it's a voice of someone that, you know, was negative in your life, conscious blaming. If I didn't have certain chaotic things in my childhood, I never would have started writing. If I didn't have a mother that said, literally put her hand over her mouth and said, women don't talk, women don't have an opinion, you don't vote for women, women don't, she was not okay with that. I started writing. If I hadn't had that, maybe I wouldn't have been a writer. So I've been able to write things. And then later in her life, she was able to say, where is that coming from? And I was like, wouldn't you like to know? Thank you very much. But then I was able later in her life, in her later years, to have the conversation with her about, look, the voice has to go somewhere. It either goes onto the page in our case, which is beautiful and incredible. It can get internalized and turn into sickness, and it can get internalized and turn into mental health problems. It can come out in mean, angry ways that hurt other people. If you don't do something, I think it actually comes out sideways in some weird random way. So it is like, if we embrace it, no matter what that voice is, carry it with you. Use it for whatever you want to do, whether good, bad, ugly, beautiful. It's all good. It's all can be, even if it's not good, it's all something that we can double down on, and we can use that to find contentment in our lives and help other people. And the more you have that purpose of something that is affecting others, I believe wholeheartedly that's what makes life incredible and moving, is being able to shift and move other people, which is at embrace your Eunice. Perfect. So yeah, she just summed it all up. Embrace your Eunice. And that's where it all lies. So think about that. Think and listen. Start really listening. What are you saying to yourself all day long, every day? It's happening. And that's the thing. It's happening whether you want it or not. So let's embrace it, control it, understand it. Like, and by control, I don't mean like, I mean like really start to choose what you want to think about. It's possible. Don't think about pink elephants right now. Whatever you do, no pink elephants, stop it. My dad used to say you could walk on water if you don't think of white elephants. So there you go. You can like distraction. I believe distraction is the key to parenting. Hey, look. Oh. It's the same for adults. It's the key to adulting as well. Distraction, keeping ourselves focused on the things that we want. They are both forms of energy. Where energy flows, that's where things happen. Focus goes where energy flows. Energy flows where focus goes. Like wherever you're putting your energy, that's what you're going to get more of. And not because of, law of attraction is an interesting thing, but it's more simple math than it is like, you know, I'm going to think about a Lamborghini, it's going to land in my garage. No, but if I'm going to think about the screenplay and I'm going to work and write on it every day, it's going to get done. If I'm going to think about what business can I create, and I start really thinking about it and I start acting on it, the law of action, it's going to happen. And that's pretty simple. All right. Till next time, you guys are the best. And let's keep on keeping on. We will see you next week. Same bad channel. Very true. What I do, just right. And on that note, go right.